afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Evergreen Pre-Purchase Finance webinar. Before we begin, I would like to advise you that we'll be recording this session for anyone that's unable to attend today. Given the current climate, this session will be brought to you by the comfort of all our homes, so I'd like to thank you for allowing us into yours today. My name is Monica Corisima, and I'm the Regional Sales Manager at Stockland. If we can please bring up the first slide, I will quickly take you through the agenda for this session. Okay. Firstly, I'll be introducing you to our project sales team that I'm sure many of you have already had the great pleasure of speaking with. I'll then give you a quick overview of the Evergreen project itself and then hand you over to an independent broker, Mark Guglielmino, the Head of Broker Operations at Loan Gallery, who'll provide you with a step-by-step process on how to get finance ready for when you wish to purchase into our exciting new community. We'll then have some time at the end for a quick Q&A, so feel free to ask your questions in the chat function on the side at any time. Okay, as you can see, our Evergreen sales team consists of two friendly sales professionals, being Sandra Dennis and Preeti Singh, and a sales associate, Payal Gandhi. They are a wealth of knowledge in the Southeast and are happy to assist you with any of your queries. So feel free to inquire away either on our website, socials, or contact the call centre directly. Now over to our next slide. Evergreen is our newest project at Stockland, which launched on the 3rd of July this year. We had a very successful first release, which saw us sell out on that weekend, and we've continued to have a high demand at all our releases following that. The project consists of circa 1,500 lots and will have a lifespan of 5 to 7 years. Our average lot size is approximately 350 square metres. And as the Evergreen name suggests, there'll be a lot of parks and open spaces. Some of the key amenities will include 2 proposed schools, a local town centre, a recreational reserve, and some pocket parks, and much, much more. Now, without further ado, I will hand you over to Mark of Loan Gallery to present everything on finance. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Mon. Appreciate the introduction. If we can jump onto my slides, I'll start to speak to everyone. I wanted to speak to you guys today a little bit about who we are, number one, at Loan Gallery, but then also talk to you about some key hints and tips to get yourselves ready for the finance process. And thank you also to Stockland for having us on today. So who is Loan Gallery and how can we help as a business partner? We are Australia's biggest land and construction finance brokerage. And what that means for our clients is that we've typically seen every type of different scenario that can be thrown at us, and we have most of the answers, if not all of the answers, I would suggest. We were established in 2002, and now we've got over 40 mortgage brokers that work for us. So we are, again, a very large organisation. We've been AFG Brokerage of the Year for 8 years in a row. So we've been acknowledged and credited with awards for our quality service to our clients and business partners. As you can see on the right-hand side, we've got access to over 70 different lenders nationally. So what that means for our clients is that we really focus on a tailored solution that is suitable for our client, as opposed to a cookie-cutter approach that you may get if you walk directly into a branch of a bank. You can obviously only then receive advice and products on one lender, whereas we have several different options that can suit our clients. As it says there, we offer professional and tailored finance advice to our clients. So that's what I was touching on a moment ago. We really look for the best solution for our clients because we know that even though a lot of them may be quite similar in some aspects, everyone's scenario is completely different. Our main focus there, as I say at the bottom, is to guide you through, whether it's your first home, whether it's an investment or your second home, to guide you through that journey and really offer a goals-based advice into the future as well, not just with your first purchase. I thought I'd speak a little bit today about the stepping stones of finance and what the process might look like if you're working with a broker, and specifically a broker with Loan Gallery. The initial consultation with one of our mortgage brokers is really to understand your goals and objectives, speak to you guys about what you'd like to achieve with your purchase, long-term and short-term, or short-term and long-term, I should say, and then to determine your borrowing capacity and how eligible you are for a loan. At the moment, something that's really important for us to mention is that this can actually be remote. So, as we're doing right now, you guys are sitting in your homes, we're sitting in ours, and we're actually able to provide that service over Zoom, over Microsoft Teams, and work with you guys around, the restrictions and all of the issues that we're having at the moment. So that's a fantastic part of our process. The second point there is it will let you know your required deposit amount, as well as obviously what your borrowing capacity is, and help you understand what your contribution towards the purchase needs to be. And then we'll also even go a step further and assist you guys with a savings plan where required. So you might be looking at land that titles in 6 to 12 months and may not have the funds up front today, but that's not necessarily a problem. So we'll work with you guys to make sure that you understand what you need to do to get finance ready, and we'll work with you to make sure that when the time comes, you're ready to go. The last point there in this slide is that your broker will actually work with you to collect all the necessary paperwork and documents that we need. So I know that can be, quite a frustrating process at times. We'll help you gather all that paperwork and documentation together. The broker will complete a full analysis with you guys in preparation for providing you some advice. And what we'll also do at that early stage is work with you to issue what we call a loan application eligibility certificate. Now, what that is ultimately is a certificate from us to say, look, we've analysed your position, we've done a full analysis, and we are confident that you will be able to achieve a finance approval at the time that you require it. And here are the steps that you need to take to be eligible for that. So we'll work with you because I know that Stockland and many others will require, some kind of pre-approval. And so that's what we will provide as a comfort to Stockland that you guys are ready to purchase at some point in the near future. Once that process is finished and you're getting closer to settlement, your broker will go over your situation again, because again, it may have changed in the months leading up to your settlement. They'll confirm that suitable lender option, and again, that may change. That's fine. That's part of our review, that we'll make sure that it is still a suitable lender for you. And we'll lodge that application on your behalf to the lender of your choice once you've worked with our broker to actually agree on what is the best option for you guys. Your broker will then manage the application with you guys all the way from lodgement to settlement. In fact, we'll work with you beyond that. But we'll work with not only you as the client, we'll work with the bank, we'll work with Stockland, any builder and other third party along the way. So, people like conveyancers all the way through the process to take the pressure and stress out of the process for you. The last one there is post-settlement, and I think that's an important one to touch on, because after settlement is actually complete, your broker will keep in touch. It's not just a transaction where we want to speak to you guys, assist you with your purchase, and then we disappear. We keep in touch with you guys really to make sure that you've got absolutely everything you need, and we will review your loan in due course as well. So we're there to answer questions, we're there to assist you with any changes that you need, because as I mentioned, everyone's circumstance is different and things do change in a rapidly evolving environment. So we do remain in close contact with you post-settlement, and we're your point of contact for anything to do with finance. Some hints and tips. I think this is really important when you're a first home buyer, or even again, if you're a second home buyer or an investor. I think sometimes it gets a little bit confusing. So I wanted to outline some hints and tips and some things to start thinking about when you are preparing for finance, again, whether it's your first or second time. So some simple ways to prepare yourself for an application. Number one, and I think probably the most important part, is to engage with your mortgage broker really early. Now, whether that is a loan gallery broker, whether it's somebody else, or whether it is in fact a bank, it's really important to engage early, because what that means is that we can work with you guys to amend anything or change anything in your circumstance that might need to be done before you're eligible for finance. So a lot of people will only go and speak to their broker or bank right when they're ready to purchase. And that can be a little bit of a mistake, because if there is something that we need to work on with you, you've then got not as much time to do so. So number one point is to engage really early and work with us on your situation. The second point is to maintain regular contact with your broker while you're saving. So again, a key point there is that your land might not be ready for 6 months. And again, in that process, we want to work with you guys to make sure that you're getting yourselves in the best position possible. So naturally, the more savings that you have to contribute to a purchase, the better off you're going to be in a lot of different ways when we speak to a lender. So we want to work with you and really assist along that way during that process to make sure you've got all of the information you need. The only silly question is the one you don't ask, we like to say. Ensuring your repayments for any current liabilities are paid on time. This is a really key one, and you might be thinking, well, hang on a second, what's a liability? So some really simple examples are things like credit cards, car loans, personal loans. If you have a home loan already, it's really important to make sure that you're meeting your repayments on time, because that will affect and impact your credit score. And that's something that I'm sure you'll know the banks are looking at these days and really all the time. So again, we will work with you. If you have missed some repayments along the way, that's not necessarily the end of the world. again, that's where the first point comes in engaging with us really early, because we're actually able to work with other business partners, credit repair firms that we have relationships with, to work with you guys to put you in a position that when the time comes to apply for your finance, we've rectified any issues that there might be and you're ready to go. Staying on top of your budget, this is another one that's really important, and just understanding what your monthly living expenses are. So how much you're actually spending each month, because this is something that lenders and banks are putting the microscope to a little bit at the moment. So we'll work with you guys to make sure that you are staying on top of your budget. Most importantly, you understand where your money's going and what you're spending it on, because again, that can assist you with your savings plan and coming to Stockland with a really healthy deposit, which will put you in a good position to get approval for finance. The last point there, I think I touched on a little bit earlier, is asking as many questions as you possibly can. So we really are here to help you all the way through the process, before the process, during and afterwards. And sometimes clients think that, oh, that's a silly question, I don't want to ask it. But honestly, we would prefer to answer absolutely any question, whether it's silly or whether it's detailed, and we'll go through it to make sure that you're comfortable and you understand the process. Is now the right time to buy? This is probably one of the biggest questions that we get asked, and I'm sure everybody at Stockland has been asked this question 100 times as well, if not 1,000 times. The answer really is dependent on whether it's the right time to buy for you personally, and that's why I say that our advice is really tailored and personal advice, because the answer to this question will be quite different for everybody. But to put a few points into perspective, it is a fantastic time to buy overall at the moment. We know that interest rates are at absolute record lows. The RBA have come out consistently and anticipated that the rates will stay low for at least the next couple of years. That's certainly the commentary that we're getting from the Reserve Bank, which is promising. We've really never seen so many incentives in the market, certainly not in my 10 years. And I will talk about that a bit later. I've got a slide that speaks in a bit more detail about the incentives, but it is a fantastic time to get into the market for that reason alone. Obviously, you can lock in today's prices, even if your land isn't titling for quite some time. So I think that's something that people forget about a little bit when they're dealing with Stockland, is that you are locking in today's prices. And we know that, given the market at the moment, we're seeing huge increases in prices of land, in prices of property around the state, and in fact around the country. So that's a really key one when you're speaking with Stockland. And the last one is speak to a broker about your personal circumstances. Oh no, okay, sorry, that one might be a little bit of a mistake there, but that's okay. Yeah, ultimately, look, I think the answer to the question is dependent on your circumstance, and I would encourage you to speak to someone at Stockland, number one, and then have a chat with your broker to talk about your circumstances and whether you're in a position to purchase. And again, if you're not in a position today to purchase, we'll work with you to make sure that we get you into a position to purchase. And as I said, it really is a great time to buy for some of those reasons I've mentioned there. So here we are with the government incentives. I did mention that there were quite a few out there, and what I've decided to do is really pick probably the three most common and probably the three newest as well that are out there in the market. So after the budget that came through this year, there were some extended government stimulus in the economy, and there was also some brand new ones that are out there today for first home buyers and others to take advantage of. The first one is that the federal government has actually expanded the FHLDS program, so the First Home Loan Deposit Scheme program. Now, I know a lot of you may have heard about that, and ultimately what they've done is they've extended it by an extra 10,000 places in this financial year. They've called that the New Home Guarantee, and what that does is allows the purchaser, so you guys, our clients, to avoid mortgage insurance up to a certain level. So it's a fantastic scheme. I know that we'll get a lot of questions about that. And again, that's something that we assist our clients to understand whether they're eligible for. The second one there is probably a little less well known, and that's the First Home Super Saver Scheme. So this was something that has been around for quite some time. It's been extended. So what the First Home Super Saver Scheme, that's a bit of a tongue twister. What that is that buyers can actually make extra contributions to their superannuation over and above what their employer does, and then withdraw those extra contributions to utilise as a deposit. So they've increased that threshold from $30,000 up to $50,000. So that's quite a significant increase, and that's a program that, again, not many people know about, but if you do engage with a broker really early, we can guide you through that and assist you to take advantage or full advantage of that program. The last one there on this slide is the family home guarantee. Now, this is something, again, that I think was in the media quite heavily. A lot of people probably struggle to understand it because when you do hear government officials talking about programs like this, it gets a little bit confusing. And so we love to break it down with our clients and help them understand exactly what it is. Ultimately, it's for eligible single parents that can access a home loan with as little as a 2% deposit, and the government will guarantee the 18%, avoiding the lender's mortgage insurance. So quite similar to the top one, but this one is really focusing on single parents and assisting them to get into their first home with a significantly smaller deposit. So continuing on from that slide, first home buyer grants and concessions. This, again, is something that a lot of people get confused with. There's so many schemes and incentives out there at the moment, as I said, that it's difficult to understand which ones you're eligible for, how they work, what you have to do to qualify for them. So if you are an eligible first home buyer, I mean, ultimately we do this with all of our clients, but specifically for first home buyers, we want to assist you guys to prepare for the first homeowners grant application. The application form in itself can be quite confusing, and working with a bank and making sure that you get approved for it can be complex. So we'll work with you guys and take a lot of the pressure and the stress out of that process for you. As I said, we'll prepare that application for you for a stamp duty exemption if you're eligible for that as a first home buyer. And we'll help you to identify any other grants or concessions like the ones I just spoke about, help you identify if you're eligible for those, and again, work with you along the way to get there. It's an incredible time at the moment. As I said, there really never has been so many incentives. We know that we've gone through a little bit of a difficult period as a country. Well, the world is in that position, but from an economic perspective, the government is throwing stimulus to help boost the economy. Property is obviously a massive part of that, and that's where these incentives and concessions are coming in and important to take advantage of. Lender's mortgage insurance. So you've probably heard me a couple of times in this presentation so far talk about lender's mortgage insurance, or LMI. So to explain on a high level what lender's mortgage insurance is, it's a fee or an insurance premium that's payable when the loan to value ratio is over 80%. So in effect, when you're coming to a lender with less than a 20% deposit, there is a small fee to be paid in terms of lender's mortgage insurance. Now, this again can get quite confusing if you don't have someone to guide you through the process, because what a lot of people don't understand is that lender's mortgage insurance is actually an insurance policy for the bank, for the lender, not for the client, number one. Number 2 point to remember is that lender's mortgage insurance can be capitalized onto the loan. I'll say that again, it can be capitalized onto the loan. So what that means is it's not an upfront fee, an upfront cost, or extra deposit that the client needs to have. A lot of clients will hear about lender's mortgage insurance and think, oh, well, I've got my deposit. How am I going to come up with some extra funds? That's not to worry. So lender's mortgage insurance can be capitalized onto the loan, and that means that you're effectively paying that off over the term of your mortgage, which would typically be 30 years. And so the repayments are quite low on that. It's not a massive extra burden, but it is the difference between waiting to save the extra money to avoid mortgage insurance, or getting into your home today and seeing the property, grow in value over time. So it is a significant benefit to clients in some ways to get into the property market a little bit earlier. And the final point there is just that it's a one-off payment. It's not an annual fee that needs to be paid over and over again. It is a one-off payment. And again, we will assist you as the client to make sure you understand it, understand the consequences, the benefits, and how you can get a loan approved even with less than a 20% deposit. This slide, I think, carries on from that lender's mortgage insurance slide, because what I wanted to talk about here is one of the fantastic ways that we help our clients avoid lender's mortgage insurance without having that 20% deposit. So something you've probably heard before is a security guarantee. And what that is a guarantor. We call it guarantor support, and that enables you, particularly first home buyers, but ultimately anyone, to utilize some equity from your parents' home. If you have a parent who is lucky enough to have some available equity in their home that they're happy to work with you on, what it means is the bank will utilize some of the equity in that parent's home, and you can utilize that to avoid paying that mortgage insurance. What it means for you guys as the client is that in the eyes of the bank, you're a more secure, a more stable, a less risky client, because there are two securities available, two properties that they can lend against. So what that enables you to do is, number one, obviously avoid the lender's mortgage insurance, which saves you a little bit of money. It allows you to borrow more funds potentially, and get into the property that you want. You may be a little bit off in terms of a deposit of the property that you really want to get to, and using a security guarantor can actually allow you in some cases to borrow a little bit more and get into that property that you're after. And as I say there in the last point, it helps you eliminate the need of lender's mortgage insurance. And that, whilst I did talk about it not being the end of the world to pay lender's mortgage insurance, obviously if you are able to avoid it, you're saving some funds. So the more deposit you have, the better. And in this case, if you're able to utilize some equity from a parent's property, even better for you guys. I also wanted to provide finally a little bit of an update on what's happening in the market. So, it's an environment, the lending environment is something that changes quite frequently. And to stress the point, I guess, this is really to help you guys understand why or what the greatest benefit of speaking with a broker is. Number one is that at the moment, what we've seen over the last 12 to 24 months is that technology in our space is advancing really rapidly. We've got all kinds of new electronic tools that have kind of been forced upon the lenders at the moment because of the environment we're in. We know that we went into lockdown and some states are still in lockdown. Certainly we are in our homes at the moment. And so what that means is we've come a long way in a relatively short time with the tools that we can use to work with our clients and work with our business partners. So as I mentioned earlier, electronic meetings. So sitting with our clients, whether it's a weeknight in the comfort of their home with a glass of wine after dinner, or whether it's on a weekend, from a display home. Electronic meetings are fantastic. Zoom, Microsoft Teams, we take full advantage of those. It also means that during a weekday, for example, we might have a married couple as a client who are both in their workplaces. They don't need to leave work to come and meet somewhere. We can access Zoom and Microsoft Teams and be anywhere that we need to be. Electronic fact finds are the second one. Now this is something that really takes the pressure and the stress away from our clients, because previously, there's a lot of paperwork involved. It can be quite a hassle sometimes for our clients. So the fact that we're able to do our electronic fact finds now means that, again, it can be done from anywhere. It's a very simple process that could be done on a mobile, it could be done on a computer. And again, it really makes that process quite streamlined and smooth, which is fantastic for us and for our clients. The data collection is probably a game changer as well. Again, I think I touched on this in one of the first slides, that a lot of our clients are put off sometimes by the process because there's so much documents that they need to go and find. They need to find statements, they need to find pay slips. The tools that we've got available at the moment actually allow our clients to log into a portal, upload the documents that they've got, and in fact, we're actually able to scrape some of those statements directly from your lender if you provide the permissions for us to do that. So that process in itself has taken a hell of a lot of time and stress out of our clients' day, and I think it's made it a lot easier to engage with a broker and to go through that process from start to finish with a little bit less stress and getting a lot of time back in your day. The ID process, again, this is something we struggled with in the past because we had a lot of legislation from lenders around the identification process and needing to really sit with our client physically, look at their IDs. We've now got an electronic process that is just as compliant in the sense that it ticks all the boxes, but it is a lot easier for our clients because we can do it again over Zoom, over Microsoft Teams, and that again enables the process to be so much smoother for you. And finally, electronic signatures. This is something that, again, we struggled to get past lenders in the past pre-COVID world. Post-COVID, I can say with some happiness, I guess, on our side and certainly on the client side, that we're able to accept those electronic signatures, and that in itself makes life a lot easier. On the other side, the lender policy. So, when you do speak to a broker, what you're leaning on is our years of experience. As I said, at Loan Gallery, we've got 40 plus brokers. All of these brokers are extremely knowledgeable, specifically in the land and construction space, but in the overall lending environment as well. And given lender policy is changing so consistently or so frequently these days, it's really important, and I can't stress it enough, that you're receiving, as a client, you're receiving professional lending advice from experts who really do understand the market. The fact that we have over 70 different lenders, what that means for a client is that if they were to walk into a NAB branch or a CBA branch and they weren't eligible for a loan with that lender, typically they get sent away and they're told, look, sorry, you need to come back in the future. When you're dealing with a mortgage broker, given that we do have access to over 70 different lenders, that means that whilst we may not be able to get you a loan with NAB for whatever reason, we've got such a wide variety of other options for you that 9 times out of 10, in fact, I'd say, almost 99.9% of the time, we're able to find a solution for our clients and assist you through that process. So that in itself is a reason to come and speak to a mortgage broker. And that's part of the reason that we align ourselves, so closely with Stockland to make sure that we're assisting their clients to get the best solution. So a couple of dot points I put there just to give you some examples of lender policy that's changed. We've seen that some major lenders have reduced their acceptable loan to value ratio, so the deposit amount that you need as a client. CBA in particular, obviously they're Australia's biggest lender. They've recently reduced their LVRs for construction loans down from 95 to 90%. So again, that's something that as a client, you don't necessarily have to worry about unless you're walking into a CBA branch. If you're speaking to a broker, we know that we've got solutions for you. The last point there is the minimum employment standards for casual employers. So we know that a lot of clients, certainly a lot of first home buyers, work on a casual basis. And what we've seen is that some lenders at the moment have increased the minimum time that you need to be working in that casual role from 3 months out to 6 months. So if you're a client working casually and you walked into a CBA branch, you might be sitting there saying, oh, hang on a second, I have to wait an extra 3 months before I can proceed with my purchase with Stockland. Again, if you were to come to us, we would say, well, hang on a second, we know that CBA isn't a lender for you, but we've got another 5 that we know will accept your casual income, and that's fantastic, away we go. So I just wanted to touch on that briefly to help you understand some of the things that we can help you with ultimately. Now, the final slide here, guys, for today is really just to emphasize that we want to handle the process for you. That's part of our service. It's part of a mortgage broker's service, but certainly we like to think we go a little bit above and beyond. So as your mortgage broker, not only are we going to provide you guys quality advice, but we really want to make it our business to handle as much of the process as possible for you guys. So all the way from that initial consultation where you're sitting down with us and you're understanding, what your borrowing capacity is and how much deposit you need, but even past that, all the way to settlement, after settlement, we want to be there to answer your questions, take the stress off you. So the idea behind that is that it allows you guys to be really calm, cool and collected, and focus on ultimately what is a life-changing event. If you're sitting down with a Stockland consultant and you're looking at purchasing land, if it's your first, absolutely fantastic. You will be so excited that we want to take the pressure off the finance so that you can concentrate on working with your Stockland partner and any builder that you're working with to get into your first home or your next home or your investment property. So ultimately, that's what we're trying to do, guys. And I really encourage you to sit down with someone from Stockland, speak to someone from Loan Gallery for your finance needs, and we'll work together as a team to make sure that you as the client get the best service possible.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Mark. We did allow some time for Q&A, but I think that your session pretty much covered everything, that we don't have any current questions. If anyone would like to ask questions after this event, feel free to send it via email to the Evergreen website, which is evergreen@stockland.com.au. Now, this brings us to the end of our session today. Thank you again for your time, Mark, and I hope everyone found this helpful and informative as I did as well. Have a lovely weekend to all of you, and I hope you all stay safe. Thank you.